Welcome back, everyone. The markets are closed today, of course, in observance of the 4th of July holiday, so that gives us extra time to talk Black excellence with our next guest. He was the first Black general manager of a pharmaceutical giant. He speaks 5 languages and plays 7 instruments. And he's the author of a new book called Be a J.E.D.I Leader, Not a Boss. Joining us now is Omar L. Harris. Omar, I understand J.E.D.I stands for Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. I cannot imagine a better time for your book. Why did you write this? And tell us a little bit about more what a J.E.D.I is.
Well, thank you very much, Laverne. I came back to the U.S. last March after living 8 years overseas in Turkey, Indonesia, and Brazil. And I came right back into the pandemic and came back into the social justice protests around George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery. And coincidentally, at the same time, the Business Roundtable Forum, which is a group of the top CEOs in America, had announced a change in the definition of a corporation away from what they call shareholder capitalism, which is the profit motive, and towards stakeholder capitalism, which is more value for more stakeholders, such as employees, customers, communities, the environment, and shareholders. And I love that statement, but I said, how are they going to do it? And therefore, I realized I could utilize my experience, having been in a lot of those positions, to connect the dots between really leaning into the principles of justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion as a way to create more value with better outcomes for those stakeholders that corporations now say are the point and no longer just about profits.
So let's talk about the fact that we know companies, since what happened with George Floyd, the death of George Floyd, many big companies have openly stated that they're on board, they want to be more inclusive, more diversity. But I got to be honest with you, there are people who are saying that, of course, behind closed doors, that maybe they don't really want that as much as they're saying that openly. They have to say it because they want us to shop with them. And I have to point to a story that we just talked about, just moments ago. We talked about the reporters at ESPN, and behind closed doors, you heard a very different conversation than what you heard what people hear out in the open. So I understand that you want to help companies drive this idea of justice and equality, but truthfully, do they want it behind closed doors and they're just sort of saying it?
Well, I think there's some companies who really want to, and the reason why I wrote the book was to really help those companies that really are leaning into the space, that have made the large commitments, financial commitments, to learn that it's not about the external work. The external work is fantastic, basically dedicating money to the United Negro College Fund and claiming to want to work with HBCUs is fantastic. But what's needed is the internal work. Every single company in America has injustices to eradicate, inequities to eliminate. They have to expand their diversity and they need to enhance inclusion. So this is work that every company in America needs to do if they want to really lean into the space of J.E.D.I and really want to reap the benefits of stakeholder capitalism. It's not me who made the statement about stakeholder capitalism, it's them. So if they're stating this, then they need a pathway to do that, and that's why I wrote the book.
Yeah, and that's where the concern is, that they're saying one thing, but behind closed doors, it's another. And that's not the case for everybody or every entity, but of course, that's always something you have to wonder about. So should Black folks boycott companies if they are not promoting diversity?
I think that we should definitely be much more choiceful about who we support with our dollar. We know the Black dollar is very powerful, and we need to start paying better attention to companies that are basically saying one thing and doing another. And so I think that we have to really pay attention. One way you can look at this is on LinkedIn right now. The diversity, equity, and inclusion lead is the #1 most hottest requested job in corporations today. But there are plenty of corporations that don't have a diversity, equity, and inclusion lead. So should we be supporting companies that don't even have the position internally, which is not even enough to do the work? But at least if you have the position, you can begin thinking about doing the work. At least a commitment has been made internally to do the work. So I think that there's plenty of data points we have out there to let us know who we should support and who we should not.
All right, Omar, thank you so much. We appreciate it, and we will make sure everybody knows where to get your book. Just go online to find that out. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Laverne.